100% accuracy, and your biggest possible refund guaranteed. Now those are great numbers. Need help along the way? We've got US-based real human support. File by February 8th for just $22.99 and get the refund you deserve. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Hey football fans, picture this. You bet on your favorite player to score the first touchdown in the game, but his teammate scores instead. If this happens, BetMGM wants to give you another chance at the end zone. With BetMGM's second chance promotion, you get your stake back if your first touchdown scorer scores second instead. That's right. Bet on any pro football player to score the first touchdown of the game. If you're right, you win. If your player scores second, you get your stake back in cash. With BetMGM's second chance offer, you have a chance to keep the fun going after the first player crosses the goal line. Try a first TD scorer wager with confidence today. BetMGM. Make it legendary. BetMGM and GameSense remind you to play responsibly. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus, Arizona only. Existing customer offer. Subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards paid back in unrestricted withdrawable funds. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP.
With Progressive Insurance, we make it easy to save money. When you bundle your auto policy with home, condo, or renters, you will earn a multi-policy discount. Easy to bundle, easy to save. Visit Progressive.com.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Suns beat the Knicks. Devin Booker with 27. College basketball, Wildcats top UCF to stay unbeaten. Grand Canyon upsets Utah State. ASU is at Houston today. Cardinals request a second interview with Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley about their head coaching vacancy. Broncos beat the Bills in overtime to reach the AFC title game. Bo Nix, a season-ending ankle injury. In the NFC, Seahawks dominate the Niners. I'm Trey Bender.
This is Chris Broussard. Here's what's trending from the iHeart Sports Network.
Presented by Discover.
Guess what? Discover's accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. You heard right, 99%. If you don't think so, maybe it's time to face facts. You're stuck in the past. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report, learn more at discover.com/credit card.
Your one stop for advertising? Call 844-844-iHeart.
Mic check, mic check.
Mic check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Mic check. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check.
for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Fox Sports Radio is taking over YouTube, and you
Season 2 of Unrivaled Basketball is here, and the talent is unreal. The best women's players on the planet are running it back with even bigger moments and bigger stakes. Don't miss as Paige Beckers, Nafisa Collier, Kelsey Plum, Brianna Stewart, and more take the court and redefine the game. This isn't your regular season. This is Unrivaled, where the pace is faster, the energy is higher, and every athlete shines. Unrivaled Basketball, Season 2, sponsored by Samsung Galaxy, tips off January 5th on TNT, True TV, and HBO Max.
Nah, I got this. Okay, I don't got this.
Yeah, you need NyQuil Intense Flu.
Undo your flu with NyQuil Intense Flu. NyQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms so you can sleep.
You do got this.
NyQuil Intense Flu. The nighttime sniffling, aching fever, best sleep with the flu, medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Appliance savings are happening now at the Home Depot with up to $1,000 off, plus up to an extra $500 off select appliances. Looking to upgrade your fridge? Check out LG's newest models serving up ice in all kinds of styles, cubed, crushed, craft ice, and now new mini craft ice straight from the dispenser. Shop savings and get up to $1,000 off, plus free delivery on select appliances like LG at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $999 or more. Offer valid January 8th through the 28th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose?
Visit mintmobile.com/radio. Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
This is the story of the one. As an HVAC technician, he and his digital multimeter are in high demand. So when a noisy office HVAC turns out to be a failing blower motor, he doesn't break a sweat. With Grainger's easy-to-use website and product information, he selects the product he needs to keep everything humming right along. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
For more information about contests on this station, go to foxsports910.com/rules.
Parker and Sons, the Valley's AC, plumbing, and electrical experts. Call Parker.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance? With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Partner with Junior Achievement, the leader in financial education for youth, to save our children from a lifetime of insufficient funds. Volunteer to teach responsible money management skills.
Junior Achievement of Arizona, JAAZ.org.
From the Raffy Law Group Accident Attorney Studio.
Call Raffy.
KGME Phoenix, KESZ HD3 Phoenix. Guaranteed human.
Denver Broncos quarterback Bo Nix will miss the
Parker & Sons, the Valley's AC, plumbing, and electrical experts. Call Parker.
Our Sunday forecast is looking nice and sunny. Clear skies at 75 degrees. Expect an overnight low dropping down at around 50 degrees. For the Fox 10 weather experts, I'm Ashley Loessa.
This report is sponsored by Allstate. Wish you could save on home insurance? With Allstate, you could easily save and get quality protection. Yep, it's a win-win. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Don McDowell Outdoor Radio is sponsored by Elevate Design Group. It's time for Don McDowell Outdoors on Fox Sports 910. A show for the avid fisherman and hunter looking for tips from the pros. Now here's your host, a saltwater fisherman and the man that fears no fish. He's the bass daddy and a tournament pro, Don McDowell.
You're on.
Hey, I want to welcome everybody to the program today. It's Don McDowell Outdoors, but I've snuck indoors. There'll be trouble before it's over with. Listen, I am so happy today. I'm really tickled. We've got a lot to learn today, a lot of information to share. We have a problem at the 8:30 segment. Mr. Guggenauer usually calls in, but I found him out in the parking lot today. James Guggenauer is in the house, and, you know, I toyed with the idea of giving you a big 8.5 by 11 blue slip. I'm just going to turn you loose. I'm not going to do to you what you do to me. Okay?
Sounds good. And when I start talking, I'll just see the 3-minute clock come up, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like it. I like it. What is happening? I know you've been a busy guy. You know, the entire commission's been tangled up in commission meetings, commission awards, banquet. You had that last night. We'll talk about that. I want to talk about the big deal. The governor is toying with about $11.1 million for hatchery improvements. We'll talk about that. I'm going to ask about the future of the MGW, and that's not a British sports car.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not.
Gotcha.
Okay. What their program is. The last few weeks we have been talking, you've been part of the discussion, and I want to kind of follow it up and bring it to a conclusion on winter patterns for bass. And last week we had our first annual session, Spooning with Matt, and there was only 2 calls from Apache Junction, so that's good.
There we go.
Yeah, he's swearing off of it, but I don't know, that motorhome of his, man, it's like my truck. You just can't hide that damn thing. So he thinks he's getting away with it. Not. But anyway, we've been talking about the spoon, the lure itself. There's a number of variations out there. You like one, I like one, Matt likes, you know, whatever he can get his hands on. Line configuration, braid, fluorocarbon monofilament, and then getting into your area of responsibility is the rod itself. What the makeup of the rod is. And then you have to look at, because of your line, because of your rod, you've got some specifics on the reel that you need to address. Gear ratio, you know, we pretty much identified that. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about your success at Duncan B. Log. So.
Sure, all good topics.
Okay, let's take number one. And by the way, we're not going to call you at 8:30.
Sounds good, but I've got the fishing report, so we're all right.
Okay, good. Yeah. Okay, tell us about the commission meeting itself. I've got your agenda up here. The one that's always really amazing to me is Chief Gene Elms when he does the revocations. I mean, that guy is so good. He gets up there with that Gene Elms straight face, and he reads this stuff off. It's like reading a comic book.
Yeah. Yes, Chief Elms is definitely an asset to the department. When he reads that, Don, you know, this is all stuff that's in statute. It's a little bit of legal talk, but we are following a procedure. When the commission takes authority to manage it, we now turned our commission into the court, if you will. We're going to arbitrate with this defendant about a revocation and a civil assessment for the wildlife that he stole from the people of the state of Arizona.
Yes, sir.
And so when when Chief Elm goes through that protocol at the beginning, it's very structured, but it's very legal. I mean, everybody understands what we're doing. So if we had to go to court, we could explain to the court, you know, why we use this procedure and what we do. But talking a little bit about revocations, this month was kind of usual. You know, we get some people who took animals in the wrong game management unit, and they knew they were in the wrong unit because it was divided by a highway, and they were parked on the highway.
Uh-oh.
So to the left of the highway, there was a season open. To the right of the highway, the season was closed. And so, believe it or not, a WM is sitting on the road behind this truck, and the guy gets out and shoots an elk on the wrong side of the road. And, you know, it's just stupid.
No question.
Yeah, stupid. We had another fellow that was flying a parachute plane.
That's what I wanted to ask you. The use of aircraft to locate wildlife within 48 hours of a, excuse me, open big game hunt.
Right. This is kind of unique because it's not your big game hunt. It's any big game hunt that's going on. And that's always the dilemma.
Anywhere in the state?
In where you're flying, in that unit. So in this particular case, there was an active hunt going on. And why do we do that? We do that because if Don McDowell is sitting out there with his compound bow, waiting to harvest animal or hunting an animal.
Be a 300 Weatherby Magnum.
Or that.
Okay.
And one of these ultralight planes fly over, chances are that elk is not going to be on its normal pattern. It's going to leave. It's going to move away. It hears that noise. It sees it and gets out of there. So we don't want to give the advantage to the person flying the plane, but we don't want to disrupt the ongoing hunts that are happening on the ground. This particular person said that he was looking for water sources there.
Of course.
And but he was flying at treetop level. Well, you're not looking for water if you're at treetop level, right? If you want to see water sources, you got to be at a higher altitude than the tops of the trees. So
now, do you have a provision in that particular law where we can ground the aircraft?
Ground.
I'm thinking 130-06 slug
yeah.
in the motor.
No, but I will tell you, and this is true for 95% of the revocations we get, is because some hunter on the ground calls our Operation Game Thief number and says, you need to get out here because there's a plane flying around this area, and I'm trying to hunt in this area.
Oh, yeah.
And so we respond to those with WMs. They will fly to the nearest airport. And when that person, male or female, hits the ground, he's going to be talking to a WM about what he or she was just doing.
I love it. What about drones? We've had lots of discussion on drones over the years before they became as popular as they are or as sophisticated as they are right now.
Yep.
Is that seemingly still a big issue?
Drones are not for Arizona. In other states, it's a big problem. Drones or any type of manned or unmanned aircraft like that is banned from the take of wildlife. So you cannot be out there scouting or hunting with a drone. We consider it just like that airplane that we were just talking about. And the reason is if you fly one of these drones, because now some of them are even equipped with thermal imaging, You could fly around an arroyo, a canyon, in a matter of minutes determine if there's an animal in there. What would normally take you an hour or a half a day or whatever to go hike your way around that canyon to see if there's anything there, now you can do it in a matter of minutes. Not a lot unlike forward-facing sonar, where anglers are now looking at fish that are out in front of them. And so there's a lot of parallelisms between those two things. But years ago, commissioners before me, this is back in the Kurt Davis era on the commission, they're the ones who outlawed the use of drones. And I'm happy to say most people are good with that. You know, they make a lot of noise, they disturb wildlife, they disturb ongoing hunts. So I'm glad that they're not out there. But when we go to different conferences and we talk to other commissions for states throughout the West where they have these things, once it gets ingrained into, you know, everybody using it, it's much harder to take it away after a lot of people have already been using it. Trail cameras in Arizona is a good example of that. Yeah. But they are unethical. It puts the wildlife at a disadvantage. And one of the tenets of North American models is you got to give the wildlife an equal chance to escape detection, not harvest, detection. So if you're up there with a drone and you're flying them, we see that is unfair, so we don't have that in Arizona.
Well, we've advanced our technology on drones, and I don't know that it's ever been used, but some of them are capable of discharging a 7.62.
I've seen that. So hopefully we're not. That in some, Texas is an example. You know, they're
using them shooting pigs in Texas.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you can sit on your couch and shoot a firearm in Texas. I mean, literally, they have them mounted to a trail camera with a tracking device, and so they could use them. But you know, we're not Texas. They got buku deer down there, so you know, it's not as big a deal as what it would be here in Arizona.
Yeah, I don't know that they're. I haven't heard of it. We have a number of contacts in Texas, but these, you know, what we're talking about specifically are for feral hogs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've got such an abundance of those darn things. Yeah, it's crazy. And I think there's some activity like that up in southern Oklahoma as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we are fortunate. We do have a few. We see pictures every now and then of feral hogs in Arizona. I predict that eventually we'll have a population just like everybody else. But for now, fingers crossed, they're not that big of an impact to us to where we have to do wildlife management, alternative programs, or something like that.
Well, I remember I addressed the commission, and this is going back a number of years ago. We had the commission meeting at the Matazel Casino,
Mm-hmm.
and I addressed the commission on feral hogs and feral burros, and they laughed me out of it because they said, "Just no, get out. We don't have them. Just forget it." 2 years later, they're in the game manual. I put up a feral hog hotline.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy's calling, and I think I've got, before we took it down, we had 18 verified locations of feral hogs in limited populations, but they're there.
They're there.
And some of the stuff, you know, and the other thing is, I'm out more than I was then in southeastern Arizona. They're moving,
Mm-hmm.
you know, talking with ranchers.
Yeah, and they're pretty healthy. At least the pictures I've seen of them, they're very healthy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just always something. You know. I think of them, and I think of the gizzard shad, and Larry Riley, God bless him. Well, we're going to have to wait and see. I'm going, no, we got to do something. He goes, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
How are you going to get the gizzard shads out?
I remember those days. I was engaged with that conversation, and I remember you being a driving force to keep this in front of everybody.
Oh, man.
That there was a problem for some of your listening audience. This goes back a few years, but some of the local anglers in Tonto Basin who fish on Roosevelt Lake every day of their lives, they're the ones who first started to say that there's something impacting the lake.
Yep.
And the only way that we got it in front of the commission, as you know, Don, was to go to the tournament directors, and we could show explicit data of the catches and the weights of the fish that were caught in these tournaments. Because like we always said, tournament anglers, take them, as an entire group, they're some of the best fishermen and fisherwomen in the state. And that's a consistent factor that we have that group of people fishing. And when you can show over a 3-year period that the weights are declining and the number of fish, guys weren't even catching a limit.
Oh, yeah.
And we were able to demonstrate to the department that there's something going on. So that's when they started, it's your encouragement to take some action out there, bring in the Florida strain bass and put the habitat into the water.
I almost wore my Bad Shad t-shirt down here today, but it was too cold. That was an interesting time, yeah, for sure. But Arizona is one of those places, gizzard shad are everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a catalyst here to grow giant, 2.5 pound gizzard shad that the other places, like Arkansas and other, you just have little ones.
Yeah, and so a lot of the reason for that is if you think about lakes that are in the southeast, you mentioned Arkansas, if you think of the structure that they have in their lakes, they've got weed beds, they've got sunken logs, they've got trees, they've got trunks
alligators
down there. So gizzard shad are in those lakes. In fact, they're a food staple for a lot of the bass down there. That contributes to their sizes down there. In Arizona, if you drain the water out of one of our lakes, you've got nothing but sand and river rock down there.
Yes, sir.
And that's the big difference. These gizzard shad that would swim in huge schools would attack the nests of both crappie and bass and eat the eggs, drive the female off the nest, eat the eggs. And so that's why this decline didn't happen abruptly. It happened over 2-3 year time.
Yeah.
And so it was a little harder for the average person to see the impact of it. And if it wasn't for those guys, the Mark Cowles, the Bill Cowles, the Frank Powles, the guys who fish that lake every day, they're the ones who first alerted you and me that there was a problem.
All righty, hold that thought. We've got to flip into a hard break here at Fox Sports 910. I'm Don McDowell with our good friend
James Guggenauer.
Indeed. We'll be right back.
So I've got sound in one side of this. Is that normal, or am I doing something wrong? It sounds like I'm hearing an echo chamber out there.
Oh, no. Okay, let's try that. We won't know until he comes back in here. Our little guest last week.
I'm sorry?
Our little guest last week, he was older.
Mhm.
He kept doing this, and finally I came over here and I was like, oh, your volume is turned down. He's like, I thought I was just old and dumb, but it feels so bad. I was like, oh no.
Mute that for a minute, please. If Kimmy Joe, one of our loyal listeners, starts posting on Facebook, take it off. She is a nuisance. Because if I mention horses, she goes absolutely haywire. No, she's an idiot.
So you're going to love this, Don. They're doing a documentary on feral horses in Arizona. Yesterday morning, I did an hour-and-a-half interview with the people there. And they kept calling them the horse advocates. The person who was interviewing me, she said, the horse advocates is, and I was calling them the litigators.
Yeah.
Said they're not interested in horses, they're interested in suing so they can get money out of this.
That's right.
And the woman's like, oh.
Oh, yeah. Good for you, James.
Yeah. Hey, so two things, the budget and legislation. There's a lot of bills being dropped and a lot involved Title 17, so I can talk a little bit about both of them.
Okay, well, I've got that on my list.
Okay.
So, in fact, that's the next thing on my list.
Okay, good.
Okay, we're ready.
We're still in commercial.
Huh? Yeah.
I mean, she's just saying good morning.
That's okay.
Watching with you is watching.
Okay. How long?
1 minute.
Copy 1 minute.
It's not live?
It is.
Yeah, I'm gonna read it right now.
Long Gun. Head to Boyd'sGunstocks.com for more details. Build with Boyd's. Show us your rack. How big is that elk, whitetail, moose, or mule deer? In the world of big game hunting, there's nothing better than having your rack on the wall and shown around the outdoor world. Head to huntingfishing.com and show us your rack. Now back to Don McDowell Outdoors on Fox Sports 910.
Okay, we're back visiting with Commissioner Guggenauer. We're talking about some of the nuances of the commission and the game department, which are very vast. I don't know how you guys do it. So we've got some proposed budgetary items. Can you take us down the list on that?
Sure, I would. Happy to talk about that, Don. Everybody knows that, or at least we hope that everybody knows at this point, that the Arizona Game and Fish Department is a self-funded organization. And that means that we don't take any money from the general fund of the state of Arizona tax code. The Arizona Game and Fish Department makes its money by selling fishing licenses. We also get Pittman Robinson and Dingle Johnson. These are federal programs, Restoration Act dollars that come in from the sale of hunting and fishing equipment. However, because we are a state agency, we still have to have our budget appropriated and approved by the legislators, and specifically the governor's office. So you might have heard the governor's State of the State speech that was earlier this week. That comes the day after she releases her budget. So the Game and Fish Department submitted our budget into the governor's office, so it's included in her budget. And not everything got in there from agencies, but I am excited to report that for the first step, the Game and Fish dollars are in there, and we look forward to getting the legislators to approve that now so that we can begin some of this critical work. One of the major pieces that we are driving for this year, we've already been engaging with legislators and with the governor's office across the board, is for our fish hatcheries. In the state of Arizona, we have 7 fish hatcheries owned by the Game and Fish Department. The newest one is Cold Springs, and we haven't been able to even turn over a shovel of dirt on that hatchery yet. But we do own the property. It's up off the Houston Mesa Road up in Payson area. But our other 6 hatcheries are needing upgrades, needing some reconditions. Slow water flows, aquatic invasive species are getting into the hatcheries. We need to put some dollars into there. So in this latest budget, and this is FY27 that we're talking about, there are dollars in there to the tune of about $12 million.
Wow.
And $11 million are going to be spent at the Tonto Creek Fish Hatchery because it needs some upgrades. But there's some really cool ideas that the department has come up with. We've always said that science and data and engineering is the key to success of this. Everybody that's a state agency, every business already knows this, but the state agencies are figuring this out. You need to be able to do more with less. Water flow is king to a hatchery. People probably don't know there's not a single pump at any of our hatcheries. It is natural flow from streams and creeks that flow into those hatcheries. And so it works like that. But with the low water flows that we've been having, the algae growth blooms that we get sometimes during the year, and then the aquatic invasive species that get in there, we're saying, we're going to have to put something out there. So we're thinking about going upstream from some of our hatcheries and putting a filtration system in so that we can block some of this stuff out. We can also create a better water flow, a reserve of water flow, if you will, so that when we do get into the middle of summer and a drought, the flows go down so far, we still have a reservoir of water to keep our hatcheries flowing. But it's critical that we get this approved by the legislators. There was a meeting a couple months ago up at Tonto Fish Hatchery, and we brought some Arizona State senators up there, and we showed them the hatchery. We showed them what we wanted to do with these dollars. And why is that important? Our hatcheries today operate at 100% capacity. We are actually buying fish to meet the requirements that we have across the state.
And they are expensive.
And they are expensive. You bet that they're expensive. But the population in Arizona is growing 100,000 people every year or 1 million people every decade. And according to some statisticians here, it's even more than that. But we know that on average about 1 million people every decade are going to be here. So 10 years down the road, where are we going to get the fish for another 1 million people? So we're starting to look at these projections. How many fish are we actually going to need just to maintain where we are today? Just so you can go to, the parks here in Phoenix, up in Payson, the Green Valley Park, and be able to put those fish in there and so that people can enjoy the outdoors like that. And it's
Keep talking long. We're not going to go on a commercial break right now.
It's almost insurmountable that the amount of fish that are going to be needed.
Okay, that's good to do. We'll follow that up after we flip into a break here at Fox Sports 910, and we'll be right back. I don't know. Anyway. What's the, you guys still going to have a hiring freeze at 6:33, 6:34? So,
yeah, you know too much inside baseball here, McDowell. Yes, it's not a hiring freeze, but we always need to be careful when we're hiring people for the department. We typically are between 600 and 625 employees at the department. But we keep it at that level because if we have a really good year, say we have a big revenue year, a lot of people buy licenses, we go out and hire a bunch of people, but then the next year we don't sell so many licenses, then we have to let people go. The department doesn't have that philosophy, the commission doesn't have that philosophy. So we try to keep it stable there. We would rather do more with less, run the operation lean, and just make sure that we've got people to be there.
I thought we had a a cap.
At one time, under the Ducey administration, there was a moratorium on numbers like that. I haven't heard any talk about that in recent years, but I do know that the number, I've talked to the director several times about how many employees we have here, and it always hovers right in that number. So that's just part of overall good management from the Game and Fish Department.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot of people to manage. Was there any discussion on social media programs? We've got a lot of stuff. The eagles, the black-footed ferret, the owl cam, and this cam, that cam, and all that kind of stuff. Is that going to keep increasing?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yes, in fact, we were talking about this at the commission meeting. The Game and Fish Department is one of the few agencies that actually has a marketing department. And we fund ours, a couple $100,000 every year for them to do that. And they've developed a great social media following.
Mm-hmm.
And we looked at a metric on Friday that shows that halfway through the fiscal year, we have already met the goal of that metric for the entire year, so up through June 30th. And these are through the Game and Fish website, through the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and I think that they have done a marvelous job putting those numbers out there.
Crazy. Okay, that social media program, is that directed particularly at the non-hunters, non-anglers, non-outdoor users?
Great question.
Yeah, we've had that battle over the years.
Mm-hmm.
That, 76% of the populace boats, but they don't necessarily understand hunting, fishing, the North American model of conservation, or all the stuff that the department does. So there's this marketing campaign.
Yep. As we were saying off air there, that not all agencies, not all game and fish agencies even have a marketing department. So a couple of years ago, more than a couple, probably 5 years ago, when we stood up a marketing department, it just took off. Even to the point where on our social media, we have now what we call microsites, where in Rimp Country, as an example, up in the Payson area, there's actually a Game and Fish social media platform up there, so we can get local news about Payson, Green Valley Park, East Verde River, how the fishing is, who's fishing up there, and it's local to that area. We have those all over the state now, as well as the major one at the headquarters that does the website. But what's cool about this is we can actually see the numbers of people there, and we changed the measuring technique. We used to just go by how many people opened a social media platform. If you got on Facebook and you looked at Game and Fish, we counted that as an encounter or somebody looked at it. A couple of years ago, they changed the metric now to where somebody has to take an action on it. So if you read a story on a Game and Fish website or social media platform, and then you forward it to a friend, or you click on a link that's within that post, that's when it gets counted now, when there's some action taken on that. And it's remarkable the difference of how many people just casually look at it, scroll through your phone maybe, looking at different things, versus somebody who actually reads the article and goes and clicks on a link. The other thing that we noticed there, Don, was the amount of time that they spend on the platform now has increased dramatically, because we know that they're reading the story, we know that the stories are interesting, and it's interesting. You were talking about Mexican gray wolves. When the department puts a post out there on Mexican gray wolves, it's always one of the top articles.
Oh, I'm sure that's a hot topic.
And people spend the longest time on those articles.
How about the Fish AZ network?
Yeah, that's another one of those local sites like that. So when we're talking fishing in rim country, if you want to know what's going on in Roosevelt Lake, if you're going to go fish that lake or Apache or Saguaro, there is a dedicated website for each of those lakes that you can go look at and see what's being done. Guys like Matt Shora, the experts fishing here in Arizona, they contribute to those things, and it's a big piece of it.
Well, there's a lot of good information, and I would encourage the listenership, hunting and fishing guys, they know where to go, but for those that are, you mentioned the influx of new people coming to Arizona. We hear a lot of people we've got people from California, most certainly. We're inundated with Californians. But the impact that we have is Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Ohio are the bulk of our questions, let's say, on where to hunt, where to fish, what game species we have, what fish species, where to, how to, and then you get over to the boating in the OHV, the off-highway vehicles. That's becoming a big deal. There's not a week goes by that we don't have numerous complaints on OHV behavior and what do we do? What do we do? What do we do, James?
OHVs is a big thing, and you mentioned on the agenda there.
Go to break.
Department just talked about.
Okay, hold on. I thought we got to flip into a break here. Macho says we'll be right back here on Fox Sports 910.
Thanks for calling Grand Avenue Mini Storage. We are located at 3636 West Grand Avenue. We have units ranging from 4 foot by 4 foot all the way up.
I guess we'll just roll with it.
All right, so what happened was, after you alerted me, the antenna outside the Phoenix metro area went down. So I had to call the technician, and we brought it back up.
Okay.
Everybody inside the Phoenix metro was hearing, but everything outside the Phoenix metro was still getting the sports. So that's why your caller or listener.
Okay.
So during that whole break, I was going back and forth with the engineer.
Okay.
We're good now.
Okay, good. Thank you so much.
And here we thought you were just a pretty face on the radio.
Yeah, there you go.
So I can loop this OHV discussion back to the legislation?
Yes, sir.
Because there is some there.
25 seconds.
Second.
Outdoors on Fox Sports 910 and always on our free iHeartRadio app. Here's the Bass Daddy and Tournament Pro, Don McDowell.
All right, thanks for hanging with us. James Guggenhauer is in the house. We're talking about all kinds of department issues for users, budgets, fish hatcheries, all those kind of good things. We're kind of going to make a segue into OHV. As you know, James, that is such a can of worms, especially during the hunting season. RC and I spend quite a bit of time traveling the state, literally, from one end to the other. And the ATV, OHV use is just absolutely rampant.
Yes.
And we've got cattle being hit.
People being killed.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is a big and continuing to grow issue across the West.
Oh, yeah.
And a little bit of history. I mean, all of us that are our age, remember back when hunters started to use side-by-sides, rangers, to move down side roads and to actually be able to go out and harvest an elk or deer or bear, something that's too heavy to bring back to camp. You are allowed to drive that vehicle off-road to load up your game and take it back to camp. And it started like that. Well, over the years, the technology has changed so much that the vehicles that are out there today are not used for hunting.
No.
Hunters are now the minority of OHV users, and the ones that are out there are pretty much for racing. And I equate them to the ones that we used to see over in Yuma on the sand dunes over there.
Absolutely.
Peeling up and down the sand and all that. That's where we're running around the state. And now people are using them for a lot more things. We had a blue slip yesterday. We had a public comment at the beginning of our commission meeting, and a person said that we're coming up on shed hunting season, which is, deer and elk drop their antlers every March, April timeframe. And they start using OHVs in their GPS units and driving in a grid pattern across the forest to look for these units. It is illegal to go off roads in the state of Arizona. And it's frustrating to people because once somebody makes a track across an area of the forest where there's no road, somebody else comes along and sees that track and says, oh, well, this must be a road, and they take it. Of
course.
And then pretty soon, everybody's driving on that road.
McDowell on four-wheel drive, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can do this.
And then eventually, Jeeps and trucks and everything else is going down there. So a lot is going on. At the meeting, we talked about our Article 10. We had Michael White, I think you know him, Officer White, is in charge of our OHV program at the department, and he heads up the education course. A couple of sessions ago in the legislators, they demanded that anyone who is renting or buying an OHV take an educational course to understand the safety rules, just common sense stuff, right? Wear a helmet, don't drive like an idiot out there. Keep these at a safe thing. Stay on the roads. Just common sense type things. So everybody's required to take one of those now.
Now, as part of that test, is there an IQ test to go along with that?
Wish there would be, but it's also applicable to anybody who's renting a unit. So when we talk to people that rent these units, they're telling us we don't want, people aren't going to want to spend an hour taking a safety test. So it's about a 10-minute test. And the idea is just to give the safety information out there, make sure they have it before they go out there on the roads. But just from the citations that get written on, it's amazing. People will ride an OHV, and I mean, this is no exaggeration when I say this. They've got all the panels up on it, kids hanging out all over this thing, as many kids as they can climb in there, kids sitting on the fenders of these units, driving down the road. No helmets, no seat belts, and it's unbelievable. Our officers just come in shaking their heads that people can be this nonchalant about what happens to these units.
Yeah, people die. You know, we have a parallel problem on the aquatic side with jet skis. Jet skis, OHVs, you know, they're the same thing. One's got tires, the other floats. You know, their use of those is really increased over the years post-COVID. Most certainly, I think post-COVID is where we saw the big influx of OHVs as well. The parallel education, who's heading up the classes for jet ski rentals? You have a similar program?
I don't know if there's a similar program for that or not.
No, there is in Bullhead City, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, there always should be. And you bring up a whole nother, pardon the pun, can of worms about these things. The newest thing is these e-foils, electric foils. This is a motorized surfboard, if you will.
Yeah.
And so people stand on it, turn the motor on, and it rises out of the water. So the only thing that's in the water is it looks like the bottom of a trolling motor with a propeller and a skag. Yeah. And we can't even figure out where you're supposed to put your boater identification numbers on these things.
Put it on their forehead.
Yeah. So lots of issues. These water pumps where you've seen these commercials where they're behind a boat and they've got like a jet pack on and it sucks water up and they blows them up out of the water and they can literally fly above the water or hover there. What do you do about these things? So there's a whole bunch of technology out there that the Coast Guard itself, because we had Major Rodriguez talking to us about this at Friday's meeting, even the Coast Guard is struggling with how to do these things.
Yeah. It's a big deal. It really is. And, man, I don't want to get started on all the nuances that we face on the waterways, but it's fast.
It is. It's bad. And, the OHVs, this is spreading over to our legislation now.
Oh, yeah.
You remember a couple of years ago, Senator Kerr, before she retired from the Senate, she began this OHV study committee to try to bring together manufacturers, law enforcement, different agencies to talk about how are we going to improve the use of OHVs out there. And the study group is still going on, but progress on this has been pretty slow, I think, outside of that education course.
Well, it boils down to one thing, on the land or on the water, education and enforcement.
Education is the key. That's where everybody is focused on, is just how do you do that? And how do you just stop people from being stupid, quite frankly?
Zip ties and tasers. Okay. We got to flip into a break. When we come back, we'll finish this up and get on to several more topics with James Guggenauer from Rim Country Custom Rods. We want to talk about that, and we'll be back after a short break here on Fox Sports 910.
Yeah. These, so they're trying to get more money. So you have to buy a decal to put on them, right? So the monies for those decals go to different agencies. No, the county sheriffs and the DPS, they get so little, they can't even do any law enforcement. So the only organization that gets enough money to do any law enforcement is the Game and Fish Department. So we are tasked with being the enforcers. We're the bad guys. We're the ones who go out and go, don't be an idiot, here's your citation. Well, now they're mad at the Game and Fish Department. Some of them are trying to sue us for this stuff. And we get the least amount of money out of the people who get the enforcement. The Forest Service and the Parks Department get the majority of the money, and they do nothing out there. And so Senator Kerr was trying to refocus the money and put the responsibility, but most importantly, give the money to the county sheriffs and let them go enforce the rules on the national forest.
You know how you pay registration
Mm-hmm.
on a vehicle? I mean, could they make it $10,000? And that's pretty steep.
Yeah.
And I think that would, people couldn't afford it. And so maybe it would take the stupidity out of.
It goes back to the same thing we were saying. If so many people didn't own those. Last night at the banquet, we gave an award to an educator who's helping us roll out our educational program. But the audience of 300 people, I said, raise your hand if you own an OHV. 3/4 of the people in the room put their hand up.
Arrest them.
Yeah. So they are so ingrained that you cannot now go take them away. I mean, people have so much of it, they pay $20,000, $25,000, $30,000.
65, 70,000.
A junk heel Jeep, and you could buy probably 6 junk heel Jeeps.
Yeah.
One of those.
Yeah. So if you tell that person, we're going to raise your registration from $25 up to $2,500, first of all, they would never run that at the legislators. They will lose votes, especially the rural guys down there, the Dave Gowans of the world, the Senator Carrolls that represent rural areas in Arizona. I mean, they would lose their election, so they would never pass a law like that.
Yeah.
And so it is very, very difficult to go down, and that's why we're focused on the education. Let's educate all the people we can, and hopefully there'll be like peer stuff. But we had a sheriff come into one of our meetings about a year ago, and he showed us a live video of an officer that was writing a citation to a person with a body camera on, and you see this OHV in the background coming down the road. It's got to be going 65 miles an hour. The thing rolls over, and right in front of the gear, it severs this young girl's arm, and she's sitting in the vehicle just pumping blood.
Oh,
It is the
man.
grossest thing in the world. Thank God the officer was from me to you, and they went over there and saved that girl's life.
Now, is that video in your OHV education class?
I don't think that was in there.
I would. I'd put it in there.
Yeah.
This last break's going to be a quick 3-minute talk break. Quick 3-minute talk break this last break.
Okay. Now?
Weekly hunting fishing newsletter to stay up to date with the latest outdoorsman news across the nation. Sign up today at huntingfishing.com. Now back to Don McDowell Outdoors on Fox Sports 910.
Okay, James, good information on the OHV. So the legislature's looking at lots of stuff. I believe the United States Coast Guard contribution to the department is roughly $1.63 million, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
Give or take. Does any of that get deferred to enforcement?
It does. Helps with enforcement at all of our lakes, but one of the primary areas that a lot of that goes for is over on the Colorado River.
Oh, yeah.
When you get around Lake Havasu and those places over there, people that seen them run up and down the river with their look-at-me boats and putting waves out or wakes out that are 6 foot tall, there's just a lot of activity that goes on.
Well, there
over
is, and Matt Shure and I have talked about it. Mark Townsend, bless his heart, talked about that a lot because we have to, today, isn't like it was then, back in the day. We're sharing the waterways with bass boats.
Yep.
We should have the lake on Friday, Saturday, and you can have Sunday for jet skis. But anyway, that was Mark's idea. We have blowboats, sailboats. We have all these paddlecraft, and now, like you pointed out, we have motorized surfboards. What? Come on. All these other things we have to share the waterways with. And it's not the same.
You are exactly right. And throw kayaks in there. It
That's
is,
a paddlecraft of some sort.
yeah, it is extremely difficult to, when we say public use and public waterways, I mean, that opens it up to anything that's out there. And all of this goes back, and this is something that I talk a lot when I give talks to different groups around the state or in the Payson area. My background is from an engineering background, from a technology advancement. I got to work on some of the coolest space stuff that I could never tell you about.
Oh,
but
no.
all fun. But that technology was my whole career. I watched technology increase, and I see it in everything that we're doing. I mean, from electronics on a boat to firearms now that have lasers on them. There's all kinds of technology out there that is, number one, raising questions about fair chase of these things, but it also includes all these different watercraft that people want to put on the water. Look at how just motors for outboards have changed for bass boats. I mean, we've gone from 125 horsepower motors, up to 350, 400 now.
400 is
crazy speed.
Becoming pretty commonplace.
People can run, You and I will go out there and we'll run 3,500 RPM. That's enough to get us up on plane. That's enough to get us where we need to go. But there are some people that want to redline that thing across the lake, and they're getting up to speeds of 70, 80 miles an hour in these boats.
91.4.
Really? And so imagine this poor kayaker or poor sailboat that's out there, and you see these boats approaching you. It's a big deal.
Okay, all right. We need to get off that subject before I get redlined here. Speaking of red lines. All right, we're going to flip into a break here at Fox Sports 10, 9:10 at the top of the hour. We'll be back with more of James Guggen Hour. I'm Don McDowell. Stay with us. Wow.
Yeah, those kayaks and where people, especially like in the big racing boats, the big look-at-me boats, I call them, when those bows come up, I mean, you can't see shit for 100 yards out there. By the time your bow comes down, you've run over somebody.
Yeah, well, that happened to Larry White on Bartlett.
Yeah.
Looking into the sun,
Yep.
Looked all around, didn't see anybody. Jet ski right in front of him, powered up, boom.
Yep.
Boom.
We were up on Saguaro one night fishing, lights on the boat, everything there. There was a boat back in a cove. I saw it sitting back there, and for whatever reason, he fires up that motor, puts it, slams it. The hull goes up. He comes by. He went by me from me to you, and he never knew I was there.
Oh.
I mean, it was the scariest thing. I came that close to just getting run over by that boat.
Oh, yeah.
And I had no idea what he was doing. Middle of the night, full throttle, boom, out into the main lake. Like, where are you going? Like, why is your hair on fire?
Yeah, that's pretty commonplace. I was fishing with.
The only time I lost a rod, the boat went so fast that a whole rod just flipped right out.
Oh, no way. Yeah, I had an incident over at Rabbit Island with Tommy and I were fishing, and God, that was, I had a little bitty nitro, and Andrew Napoleon put some neon reflective red lettering on the side of the boat.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the only thing that saved us. Wow. We were turning sideways, and this guy's, getting up on pad, and, and he went by, shut it down, came back, and said, "Oh, God, I'm so sorry. I just saw you guys." And,
almost ran your ass over.
Yeah. Absolutely nuts. Yeah. Okay, when we come back, let's talk a little bit about that Commission Awards banquet.
Mm-hmm.
It's time for Coffee and Chaos with the guys from the 406 Rifle Company, Captain Chemo and Sheriff Wynn.
All righty, we're back visiting with James Guggenauer. No Coffee and Chaos, Colonel Chaos himself, Captain Chaos, General Chaos is somewhere in the lower 48, perhaps, maybe offshore, doing what he does, and we'll visit with him next week. So, as part of the commission, you have commission awards every year. The banquet was last night. How'd that turn out?
It was a wonderful event. As you know, Don, you have been recognized more than once.
4 times, actually.
Your work in conservation out there. This is an annual banquet that the commission conducts, and we like to talk about people who are doing great work for conservation, great work for education, and just all around wildlife management. And it's kind of a hard choice. The commissioners choose the recipients of these awards every year. And we get a lot of applications. This year, I think we had like 50 applications for like 15 awards.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's pretty popular. A lot of people are engaged. And quite frankly, you know, we do it for the year. We say that this is our group of inductees for the 2025 year. But in actuality, it's like you know, these people have spent their whole lifetime worried about conservation, doing work for our wildlife across the state. So it was very exciting, but I wanted to share a couple of them. We have one award that we give out that's called the North American Model Commissioners Award. And this is one that the commissioners say, who most represents the North American model? And this is North American Model of Wildlife Conservation that anybody who hunts or fishes knows what that is. It's kind of the foundation of conservation across the country. Aldo Leopold, Theodore Roosevelt, they were the creators of this document and kind of put some principles in place, a foundation, if you will, for conservation, that a lot of agencies base everything they do on the North American model. So for this year, we selected the game and fish veterinarian, Dr. Ann is what we call her, Ann Justice Allen.
Oh, she's been on the program. She's a wonderful person.
She is wonderful, but some of the cool things she did, and this is why we kind of linked it to the foundational type things. And I'll just give one short story about chronic wasted disease. CWD is a big issue for a lot of cervids in the western part of the United States. We don't have it in Arizona. And a lot of the reason we don't have it is because of our landscape, and we have lots of area for animals to roam. But other states around us do have cases of CWD.
We're surrounded by our neighbors.
We are.
They have it.
They have it. Different management styles. I'll give you an example. Up in Montana, where they first discovered it, was in the wintertime up there, the ranchers would go put hay out in the snow because the deer herds couldn't move much, and to just feed the deer, they were helping them through the winter with this.
Of course.
The downside is they brought all those deer into their pastures, close proximity, exchanging body fluids, and all of a sudden they have CWD and breakouts, and there's not a cure for this disease. You've got to literally eliminate that herd, isolate it as quickly as you can. Sterilize. So Dr. Ann, when she heard about this, and this goes back 10, 12 years, she put a model in place for Arizona and said, if we ever find CWD in the state of Arizona, this is what we're going to do. And when she first started talking about this, I was kind of skeptical. I thought, I don't know. You know, there's no cure for this. If you got it, you got it. It seems like no one's been able to figure this out. But her model now has developed over the last decade to the point that every state in the western United States is now using her model. It was a whole foundational improvement for CWD, how to manage it, how to be proactive against this. And by the way, we test over 50,000 animals in Arizona every year for CWD. So it's not like we're just ignoring the problem until it's there.
You've got a big advocate that was out there. Jared McFarland was teaching sample and tissue removal.
Because it's a brain infection.
It is,
Yep.
and Jared did such a great job on that. Yeah.
Yep, he was there last night. So I was glad to see that. And then one other award, we let the whoever's chairman this year. This is Marcia Petrie Sue is the chair for the Arizona Game and Fish Commission this year.
That would be Madam Chairman.
Madam Chair, that's what we call her. And in fact, they made a bunch of jokes about what to call her last night. It was pretty funny. And
there was a Marcia roast?
Yeah, there was. But the chair gets to pick anybody he or she wants for an award. So she gave this great story about how she worked a lot of projects, been engaged in habitat. She's a hunter, she's an angler, kind of gave her background a little bit. But then she talked about these 3 people that started to talk to her about possibly being a commissioner. And she went back like 12 years to starting this conversation. But it was really nice. Tracy and Jim Unmock and Pete Similaro, she recognized as the commission award recipients this year. And so Pete, Jim, and Tracy all got to give a short little reception talk, kind of impromptu, because they had no idea they were getting this award. But I thought, good for the Madam Chair. I mean, these are people that have been engaged in wildlife, just like you, Don, for a lot of years. And yeah, it was pretty special to see them get this recognition. Well deserved.
Wonderful. That's cool. You know, and Justice Allen has done some great things. You know, we were so panicked there for a few years about CWD and you know, being surrounded. These guys migrate.
Oh yeah.
They migrate in and out, in and out, in and out. And that's an opportunity to segue into Mexican gray wolves. They migrate.
They do.
So what's with the federal freezes and pauses, call them whatever you will, what is the future of the MGW program as a whole?
So as you know, Don, we have legislation in Arizona. You know, people want to loosen the requirements on that. They want more money for depredation.
Of course.
All of this legislation is being dropped. So in Arizona, the plan that we have in place is that the Mexican gray wolf program is run by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So I want to make sure everybody understands that this is an endangered species.
That's their responsibility.
Yeah.
To a degree.
It is their program. They're the ones that provide the funding for it. So they have the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Wildlife Services. They have people in the state of Arizona and in New Mexico to manage these wolf programs. Both the Arizona Game and Fish Department and New Mexico Game and Fish Department, we have officers that assist them and biologists and scientists that help them manage the program. They are paid by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. We get what's called Section 6 funding out of the Endangered Species Act. That's where those dollars go to support the Mexican gray wolf program. We're at about 286 Mexican gray wolves across the 2 states here. The numbers go up and down from year to year. It's been pretty stable, approaching that 300 number. And I think it'll be there. Now, for the funding, through all of the government shutdowns and all of those types of things, the funding has been pretty stable. We haven't made any changes to the thing. Some things were a little bit later than we expected or delayed, but not enough to impact the program. But going forward, this is going to continue to be a battle. We have what's called a livestock loss board.
Of course.
In the state of Arizona, we established that because there is a recognition by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife and Wildlife Services that there are depredations on cattle, on livestock, that ranchers are compensated for. So we have this independent board that once a determination is made that this was livestock that was lost to depredation due to Mexican gray wolves, they actually have money that they reimburse that rancher for. We can argue about the amount of money or how much it is or how fast the process is to get paid.
That's one of the big things is the time frame.
Yeah, but we do have the best process to be used here. There's other states are looking at the way that Arizona and New Mexico is doing this, but you're right, there is red tape involved, and one of the hardest things, Don, is first that it can be days or even weeks before a rancher finds a depredation.
That is something I wanted to bring up on that time frame, that timeline. By the time, like you say, the rancher finds that, other things have chewed on that.
Exactly.
Most likely.
Exactly
right. And there's deterioration and degradation. The whole thing. It's a can of worms.
It is. And then you add a couple of more days or up to a week before a wildlife service representative even gets out there.
Yeah.
So that adds more days to the process. And by the time the official gets there to make a determination, I could understand how to be extremely frustrating to a rancher that would have said, yeah, if you were here a week ago, you could have seen this in a much different condition than it is today. So it's not the best, but it's what we got. So we try to work with that.
One of the David Gowan made
Senator
some
Gowan,
noise several years ago about, well, we're going to put on more depredation instructors and blah 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 blah. Well, he hadn't done anything. Mm-hmm. And so we're still where we are. And before Doug at USDA took his retirement, there was talk about putting on additional personnel. And then here comes Elon Musk, and there was a big freeze. U.S. Fish and Wildlife lost some personnel. The money was frozen. I talked to Jim DeVos. He goes, well, right now we have enough money to go 18 or 24 months, and that was a year ago. So we're, pretty much almost beyond that. What strides are being made with Mexico? Because, the long and short of this, they're trying to do 100% reintroduction into 5 or 8% of their historic range. The rest of these things need to go to Mexico. Mm-hmm. What are we doing with Mexico?
Great question. So the Endangered Species Act, when they put an animal or put a species on the Endangered Species Act, along with that, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife must tell you what the goal is. How do you achieve success here to say that this species is no longer endangered or threatened, which is a step above endangered? The difference between threatened and endangered, if it's threatened, the state agencies take over the management of the species. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife only has jurisdiction when it's endangered.
Of course.
So the big deal is to move, how do we get this from endangered to threatened type species? The plan says that, just as you indicated, that there has to be an established productive herd in the United States, specifically in eastern Arizona and western New Mexico. There also has to be an established population, a little bit smaller, 100 animals down there in the country of Mexico. So you brought up Jim DeVos earlier. Jim DeVos, a longtime WMD assistant director for the Game and Fish Department, retired a few years ago. But because of his expertise in the Mexican gray wolf program, he has stayed on all these years as a contractor. So he and Clay Crowder, who's our current Wildlife Management Division, WMD administrator, they fly down to Mexico. They meet with groups down there, and they talk about releasing wolves down there. We literally fly wolves into Mexico. These are some that we take off the landscape, some we take out of zoos, and ones that are raised in pens, and we move them down there and release them onto the landscape. So they're watching them. The numbers are small. They're less than 25 that they have down there now, but that's better than the zero that they had.
Current number?
Pardon me?
Is that the current number?
It's around 25.
Around.
And they have to have a herd of about 100, a pack of about 100 individuals down there.
Is there any success with the ranching industry in Mexico? Because I know we keep putting wolves down there. They keep vanishing. So, that's going to be a big issue with that.
So it is. And in fact, this was the country of Mexico, and this was probably 2 years ago, Don. As you know, when we first started to bring them in, we were putting them into northern Mexico, where there is a lot of ranching and agriculture that goes on down there. And they were a nuisance. They caused a problem. And you're right, they quote-unquote vanished pretty regularly there. So now the release location has moved more into central Mexico, more of a mountainous area, kind of similar to what the Rim country is, that type of landscape.
Down in the Sierra Madres?
Yes, so they have less agriculture, less ranching up there, less cattle grazing, and so that's part of the reason that we're starting to see some traction there.
Interesting. We got to flip into a break. We're going to make a few calls to Argentina to see if we can rustle up Chris Rich, cell phone depending. I'm Don McDowell with
James Guggenauer.
We'll be right back.
Had to swallow my coffee.
You need more coffee?
No, I'm good, thanks. So Representative Diaz in the House of Representatives, I don't know who's feeding him information. I think he's written 10 bills that are all related to Title 17. We're going to be so busy down at the legislators this year that I don't know how we're going to do it. Griffin, her bills that she dropped last year about landowner tags and having a rancher, quote-unquote rancher, whatever that means, as a permanent seat on the commission, she dropped that same bill again. And everyone's like, what the hell? We're going to go down and have the same battle we had last year over the same legislation.
Yeah.
What an absolute waste of money and time. And Diaz, I didn't like that guy last year too much. He was saying that he was trying to help the department. Remember, he's the one that ran the legislation to maintain using dogs. And we said, we already have this fight, don't worry about it. But he ran that bill anyway. So we had to defeat his bill just so that we could maintain the authority of the commission. We don't want legislators telling us, taking the authority from the commission.
Where's he out of, Benson?
He's down by Gowan somewhere. So, yeah, he might be Benson area. But this year, I mean, just...
No answer. Go straight to voicemail.
That's fine. We'll just keep talking.
His legislation is talking about predator hunting, and he calls them cougars, mountain lions, and something else, and we're saying those are all the same species. Like, you don't even know what you're doing here. And so it's going to be bad this year.
Do we need to go talk to Representative Diaz?
We will be. I mean, I talked to probably 7 or 8 senator representatives last year about our legislation, along with Ed Sanchez down there, and Tom Finley was with me, and spoke before 2 of the Senate subcommittees down there. And I think it's going to be the same thing this year. So I appreciate that. If we get down there and we want to hear some public input, I'll give you a shout. I'll meet you down there.
We have a lobbyist now, the Arizona Cattle Growers Association. And it wouldn't be difficult to engage on some of these things that you guys are fighting, because we fight the same thing. And, where's Gosar's defund, delist?
It's going nowhere. He's not going to make it out of committee.
Yeah, probably not. I wish he would, but that's just me. Well, Diaz is been threatening to show up right here.
Sport fishing. Don't miss the boat or the bite. Book directly at malahinisportfishing.com. Show us your rack. How big is that elk, whitetail, moose, or mule deer? In the world of big game hunting, there's nothing better than having your rack on the wall and shown around the outdoor world. Head to huntingfishing.com and show us your rack. Now back to Don McDowell Outdoors on Fox Sports 910.
Okay, we can't find Chris Rich. I can't tell you when he gets back. We'll have some interesting tales of whales that probably didn't get away. I know he's fishing with Ward Simpson and another group of gentlemen in Argentina, and then he was going to other places that I don't recall. But anyway, you were talking about Representative Lupe Diaz. You know, it's interesting that he doesn't have any of that stuff up on his website. He highlights election integrity, which obviously we need, border security, and education on K-12 funding, and so on, so on, so on. So where is Paul Gosar, Congressional District 8, had a D. Wolf D-list legislation for, was that going to Congress or Senate?
It's in the House of Representatives. Representative Gosar is a U.S. congressman. Diaz is a state House of Representatives.
Yeah, he's a state guy. He's District 19.
Yes, sir. Yep. So the Gosar bill, and for the public, I know you know this, Don, was set to basically end the defund the Mexican gray wolf program, and get the U.S. Fish and Wildlife out of that agency. He wrote a very short bill that I just about read it to you. That's kind of what it says.
Boom, boom.
But in the U.S. House of Representatives, it's got to go through a committee. A small group of people do a deep dive into the legislation. And if it approves that committee, then it goes out to the full House of Representatives. If it would pass there, then it would go to the U.S. Senate and go through the same process in the Senate. Right now, Mr. Gosar's bill is in committee on the House of Representatives. They haven't brought it up for debate. It's been sitting there since last year, last session, so we'll see where that goes this year. I'm sure they'll resurrect it at some point, but it seems to be losing some traction, and at least I haven't been seeing any motion taken on that bill for.
I've not seen any movement on it at all.
Yeah.
So you know, that was I think 4255.
Correct.
HB, HR. I'm sorry. So okay, well let's move along. We've got enough endangered species stuff to keep us busy for a while. My major concern is, as the wildlife chair for the ACGA, I'm keeping an eye on Colorado with their defective thinking, turning the big not Mexican, but the big timber. I'm going to call them timber wolves, just the big gray wolves up there.
Yep.
And they're just wreaking havoc with the depredations and.
Whole different set of circumstances there.
Well, but it's similar. You know, they've got something that, in my opinion, doesn't belong there. They're losing elk and deer and, you know, everything else, not to mention the livestock.
Yep.
And the ranchers are getting upset, and rightly so. But to the point, you know, they've got a bunch of these guys collared, and they've tracked one wolf over 4,600 miles of trekking.
Wow, I didn't hear that number, but they do move. That's well known.
You know, and anyway.
The whole Colorado story, Don, is you know, this was put to a referendum for the voters in the state of Colorado. The metropolitan areas outvoted the rural areas by like 0.01% or something like that. But they voted, and they directed their Fish and Wildlife Agency up there to release wolves onto the landscape
Yeah.
across there. So they didn't have any wolves, so, well, I'll take that back. They actually did have some wolves in the state, but they went out and got some more wolves. They went to Oregon, and they collected up a dozen wolves and brought them down and made a huge, big announcement. It was all over the press. This is what the voters wanted.
And they lied.
And they put the wolves on the landscape, and they immediately started to experience depredation issues, which were very largely publicized up there. And a lot of people started to question if this was the right thing to do. As you stated, all of their wolves, all of them, were to be collared. Since they put them on a landscape, some of the collars have failed, and so they lost track of them. Just recently as 2 months ago, one of them came into New Mexico. Across the border is in there, and the whole crux of this for us and our commission and the New Mexico Game and Fish Commission have written resolutions to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, to Wildlife Services, to all the state governors around us, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, saying, look, if you bring these northern wolves into Colorado and they engage with Mexican gray wolves, we're going to lose this subspecies. And everything that you've been done, that has been done to protect the Mexican gray wolf is going to go away. As soon as you start putting those hybrids on the landscape, it's over, right? So, so that's the reason they're putting these collars on. But, and I'll speak for just one commissioner here, just my little brain thinking about this, that just like our wolves, at some point, they will have litters that won't have collars on them.
Oh, of course.
And as soon as they get up and start walking, now we have no tracking mechanism to know where those wolves are going to go.
That's right. That's right.
So it's even more exacerbating for a state like Utah that doesn't have wolves, that doesn't want wolves in their state. When they cross into their state, can you hunt them? Can you shoot them? Are they a predator if they cross this state line? So there's just a boatload of questions about how to do
Nothing
these
but
things.
trouble.
So the one in, back to the example in New Mexico, actually Colorado called New Mexico because they're tracking their wolves, and they said, one of our wolves has crossed into your state. We need your help trapping it, or we will come and trap it. New Mexico said, we will trap it. So they sent their wildlife managers out there to northwestern New Mexico. They set traps up, and within a week, they had the wolf. They took it back to Colorado. They handed it to them literally at the state line, and then they left it up to Colorado what to do with it from there. They took the wolf to the very northern edge of where they're allowed to release their wolves, and they re-released it out into the wild there. Pretty big deal, because the survival rate of something like that happening in a new landscape, a single wolf like that, is probably not very optimistic, but nonetheless, that's the procedure that we have in place to handle these things.
What's your concern on the Kaibab Plateau? We've got a one-of-a-kind gene pool up there with the mule deer that we raised up there, and that was one of the provisions on the 10J experimental, that we don't have Mexican gray wolves crossing the north of the 40, and they do. That, you know, there's a whole bunch of denial going on and smoke and mirrors, but they do. They get caught. They get found. What's your concern with the big wolves moving in through Utah from Colorado into Kaibab?
Yeah, I mean, it's troublesome. I hope that before we get to this point, or before there's an established population that close to Arizona, that something can be done there. But I just, as I look forward, I'm concerned about just what you're saying, Don, that, you know, we're going to have some type of hybrid, and all this money, effort, debate, all this stuff to protect a subspecies that, whether we agree with it or not, the biologists of U.S. Fish and Wildlife have made that determination. it's all going to be lost. And I think that's just a sad state that we would let one law override another law or one priority over another priority to do these things. It doesn't make sense. And at the end of the day, if we look back in 10 years and we go, that was a colossal waste of money and waste of time on everybody's
absolutely.
part.
You know, that's the thing. We FOIA'd Fish and Wildlife in Department of Interior. How much money have you spent on the Mexican gray wolf? And they can't tell you.
Agree. I've had some of that same frustration. You and I have talked about this over the years, that I think that, you know, they don't, the feds would probably be embarrassed if they had to go tell the U.S. taxpayer how much of their money is going into these types of
I'm
programs.
sure. All right, we got to flip into a break. I want to get off the Mexican gray wolves, and I don't want to talk about the horses. That's another soapbox I don't want to get onto. When we come back, I want to talk about seasonal techniques and go down the road, see what happened in Dunkerby Lodge. I'm Don McDowell with James Guggenauer. We'll be right back here on Fox Sports 910.
So I go out this door to the left for the restroom?
Down to the left, yes, sir. Past the double doors, and it'll be on your right. So everything's working?
Everything's working, but when we meet, it doesn't meet.
Okay, yeah.
No, I did not know that. I don't know if we can pull it here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's possible.
Oh, I don't know. It ain't a big deal. When's Tyson coming back? Is he?
I think, if the storm lets him.
Breezy back there. Oh, no. He's not flying in that.
Well, he's sitting on the airplane. They're de-icing right now.
No.
So he's flying from Dickinson to Denver. And Denver, there's 46% chance of snow. So
Jeez.
I don't know. I've been stuck in Denver like 8 times.
How long is the flight? So that's,
From Dickinson to Denver is like an hour and 25 minutes. And then Denver to Phoenix is 2 hours, less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not a horrible flight. It's just, and I don't think he has a long layover from when he lands.
yeah. Crazy. Oh. We're going to have Matt Shura in here. Let's see. On the 15th. Yeah.
I won't be here next weekend. Is it okay if I can cover?
What's the next weekend? That's the 20, oh, is Tyson gonna be here? Okay, we got, Mueller, Jim Lawrence is coming in, Bob Jacobs is coming in. It's gonna be a big conservation show.
Is it okay if Jason covers?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, get up and running.
I took video to where the plug the knee.
Yep, that's good. So we have made some inroads with the Wallapai.
Mm-hmm.
We got we got their 2 trophy oak tags. We have 2 bighorn sheep tags. One of them's for 27.
You're talking about the cattle ranchers? Or the cattle organization?
MDF.
Oh, MDF, okay.
Yeah, we're going to auction 2 elk tags, antelope tag, and a bighorn sheep tag in February at that Western Hunter Conservation Expo.
Big deal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we should,
Z Fly Shop, where your adventure begins. The best in fly fishing is at the AZ Fly Shop, 3254 East Cactus Road.
Back to Don McDowell Outdoors on Fox Sports 910 and always on our free iHeartRadio app. Here's the Bass Daddy and Tournament Pro, Don McDowell.
Okay, at the podium, time certain, Commissioner James Guggenauer, this is your time. So,
perfect.
Let's talk a little bit about Dunkerby Lodge. How'd that turn out this year?
Absolute phenomenal fishing up there. I know that Don knows, but for the audience, Dunkerby Lodge is on Rivers Inlet, which is about 300 nautical miles north of Vancouver in the Central Plains of British Columbia up there.
Bear country.
Bear country, lots of bears up there. In fact, I'll share a story. It's phenomenal timing. We go in August every year. The season runs from June 1st through the first week in September. We like going in August because that's when the big Chinook or king salmon are running in there. There's Chinook that run all the time in there, or king salmon, and then silvers, which are coho salmon, are also running in there.
Yeah, buddy.
Usually the Chinook come in first, but they're not the big mamas that come in. They come in, they're 10 to 15 pounds, or is that first wave, if you will, that comes in. The later you get in the season, that's when the larger females come in. So that's why we like to go. Mid-August is the prime time to fish up there. And it is, anyone who's fished for salmon understands what this is.
So what you're telling us is you target the big girls.
You do. Okay. But there's a cool story with all of it. At Dunkerby Lodge, the owner up there, you've had him on your show, Don, is Mr. Sid Kay. He is a great conservationist. So anybody that catches a Chinook salmon that weighs over 30 pounds. The First Nations people up there call them Thais. And they have a conservation program that if you catch and release a certified Thai, when you get back to the lodge, you get a huge recognition. You get a baseball cap, which is always cool for anybody who fishes. But more importantly, you get a hand-engraved single-action knuckle buster reel that all of us know that they use for salmon. They are all individually serialized. They've actually got a message on the face of the reel that they carve into it, and it is just a beautiful piece of art that allows you to share stories with friends and family about what you do. So this past year up there, I caught my personal record. I caught a 42-pound Chinook and released it into the water. We don't even bring these fish into the boat. We overboard, we've got them in a big net. They're right beside the boat. We get length, we get girth. You put it through a calculation. It tells you what the weight of the fish is. You take a couple of pictures. You're kind of holding the fish to make it look like you're holding it, but the fish is really still in the water, and then away she goes. And I'll tell you, it's a beautiful sight to do that. And the reason you're doing that, the reason those fish are in that fjord is they are going up to spawn, right? Everybody knows that salmon go out into the ocean. They can be there clear up to Alaska, all the way down the Canadian Pacific coast, and then back into Rivers Inlet. 5 to 7 years life cycle. They're going within 2 weeks. Those fish are going to go spawn and die.
And so
when they get right to the end of that, and you catch them just before they go spawn, especially if it's a Thai, I mean, that's the DNA. Those are the eggs you want to get spawned and released on there. So this whole conservation effort, makes a lot of sense to put those fish back into the water.
Well, that theory applies to our largemouth as well.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yep. In fact, I kind of joked with the owner up there because I told him it's about time you guys are getting your asses in gear. The U.S. bass fishermen have been doing this for decades, and you guys are just figuring it out. So, so it's fun to go catch these fish. We always bring home a limit. You can't help it. I mean, you could throw your car keys in the water up there and catch a fish.
Oh boy.
So, but back to the bears. The bears know from habit that time of year in August, those fish are going up to spawn. There are dead fish laying everywhere up there at the end of August and into September. The bears have an absolute feast to where, I mean, literally, if you think of it like an elk or a deer, the bears will eat the backstrap off a salmon, and then they leave the rest of the fish out there. They don't want to eat the head because why would I go?
Poachers here.
Yeah, I got so many out here, I'll just go grab them. But very typically, is we're fishing up there in mid-August, we're watching the bears walk towards, upstream because they know those fish are going, and they're just, it's going to take them a week to walk up there, but they'll get there and be able to feast on all the carcasses after they spawn.
That is absolutely wild. Okay, let's talk a little bit about seasonal techniques. I'm going to get back on this spooning issue.
Yeah.
What's your best rod for spooning?
I listened to the conversation last week, listened to Matt talk about it, and then when you had Jerry Tate on talking about it as well. Two different techniques that we've talked about a lot. You can have a casting spoon where you want to throw that thing out there as far as you can. First of all, these are usually an ounce weight, 3/4 weight. So you can throw them a long way. So you don't need a tremendously long rod.
Oh, yeah.
But if you have a longer rod, like a 7/6, you can chuck that thing out there.
That thing will leave the end of the rod like a mortar round.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I personally like that technique. I like to cast it out. I like that thing to flutter down and go there. But I really enjoyed your conversation about what are the different baits. I think Jerry talked about a Castmaster. Matt talked about spoons, but he doesn't like them dressed with feathers. Crippled herrings, we talked about a couple of different baits. But the bottom line is, what you're trying to imitate is a dead shad. In the wintertime, because of the water columns, there's different temperatures there, and some of those temperatures are lethal to shad.
Oh, yeah.
So the weak shad will literally die as they're swimming if they go through the wrong thermocline. And as they begin to fall to the bottom, they kind of flutter back and forth. They're dead. It's just a dead fish sinking to the bottom, but they don't go straight down. They kind of go back and forth, and because they're so light and so small. That's what you're trying to imitate. So when you have a Castmaster, as an example, this thing doesn't float down. It's heavy. It's a 1 ounce thing, but it's chrome.
It's on a mission.
Yeah, so it flashes and it attracts the fish, and they go, okay, this thing's falling through the water column. Whereas if you take a spoon, and this is my preference on it, it's got it's concave a little bit.
What are you talking about, a cripple herring?
Yes.
Okay.
And it forces it to do this back and forth a little bit. To better imitate that dying shad falling through the water column.
Well, that's the one that's the Castmaster is a slice of steel.
Yep.
The cripple herring is a piece of lead.
Right.
And you can massage it.
There you go, Don. We said we weren't going to talk.
Okay, I didn't say that. Okay.
But you're right. I mean, that's what professional anglers have figured out. That if you put that bend, because it's lead and you can bend it pretty easily, it drastically changes the action.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So
that'll give you flutter. Well, let's see. You mentioned dressed hooks. What's your take on dressed hooks? Because Matt and I are on opposite ends.
Yeah, I heard that conversation or debate or argument or whatever it was. So once again, you're trying to imitate a dead fish. So I get Matt's point that, the feathers don't look natural to that. It's more the body of the spoon that's attracting the fish. So I get that argument. But back to this fluttering portion or slowing down the speed that thing is going to fall. If feathers contribute to slowing that thing down and making it fall a little bit slower, I can see an advantage to have it. Personally, I do. I like a little deer feather or deer on the end of the hoof.
Okay, my take on that is, we've back in the day, Jerry Tate and I, in fact, you and I did some similar research, scientific research at Roosevelt on forage fish, and in almost all cases, the tip of their tail is black or dark.
Yep.
Okay, let's say, and the rest of them is silver, and there's a hint of purple, a little bit of brown, bronze, if you wish. So my take on it is the black feather. I like the black feather, and going to your point years and years ago, a little dot of red. I like the red thread. And then we got into how many Sharpies do you have in your tackle bag?
Yep. And so I have the same one that Jerry was talking about. There's a marker that you can buy at any bait shop. One side is black and one side is red. And you can, if you want to put that tail, like you're saying, make it a little darker, or thread fin shad are actually black on top. So a lot of people just go right down the top of it and put some black ink on there. And those are good techniques. Sometimes that's all it takes to turn on a bite, especially the red, because now the bass see that in shallower water where you can see the colors. They see that as a wounded fish, and they will always go to a crippled fish in the water.
Picking on the handicap.
Yeah. But back to these techniques, the thing that really drives it is making sure you have a monofilament line to where, not the monofilament, I'm sorry, what's the other line?
Hold that thought. We'll
come back to it.
Right after. We got to flip into the last break here, the first hour or the second hour. I'm Don McDowell with James Guggenauer, Fox Sports 910. We'll be right back. Braid?
Yeah, monofilament, fluorocarbon is what they wanted to say, not monofilament.
Yeah. We got braid, fluorocarbon, and monofilament. Yeah. Well, I was talking about the other day, when braid was out there, and I started using braid making a transition.
In today's world, personal and family safety, home and business are at risk. Roll Shutter Systems Shutters protects your family, home, and business assets, providing security, privacy, weather protection, noise reduction, and all built for specific needs. Roll Shutter Systems is family owned and operated for 40 years and manufactured in Phoenix, Arizona. They ship and install throughout the USA, Canada, and Mexico. For your free estimate, click rollshuttersystemsusa.com or call 623-869-7057.
And then I started using a fiberglass rod, and then I finally, found a combination that worked with the braid. I didn't want to give up the braid.
So I don't use braid very often, but I do use it on spooning techniques. If I'm fishing just crankbaits or something like that, I like monofilament. I'm kind of old school that way, but I like to. But you bring up a good point on the glass rods, and we can talk about that, because with the newer technologies, they have a little more power to them than what they had in the old days. So a glass rod with a braided line is actually a good combination. That rod is kind of forgiving to kind of an in-between, if you will, between the brain.
Big news! AZMed Weight Control cutting-edge programs now include the Evolve X body contouring technology. The Evolve X body contouring machine is non-invasive, hands-free solution that quickly transforms the shape of your muscles while treating fat and improving the look of your skin and contour. With the Evolve X body contouring, you get to take advantage of the combination of technologies that delivers a no downtime and a true alternative for sculpting your body without needles or surgery. As medical technology grows daily, AZMed Weight Control strives to stay on the leading edge of the medical weight loss industry. If you want to become a happier, healthier you, then AZMed Weight Control is for you. Evolve X is now available at our Avondale office, located at 2935 North Dysart Road. Call for your appointment now at 623-251-5605. Let me give you that number one more time because you don't want to miss this offer. 623-251-5605 or visit azmedweightcontrol.com. That's azmedweightcontrol.com.
And it was low, way back then. What was that, 23 years ago?
Yeah.
It was a long time ago. So, and we haven't really taken our girls fishing.
Yeah.
Not much,
Yeah, so you probably get to see passionate guys like this stuff who just live and breathe it, and then there's other people who go.
Well, the best place to hunt in Indora Valley is on our front porch.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
got the
Kind of like in Payson.
Yep. You walk right by the house, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Was it 2 years ago, we're talking to James on the phone, and you can hear the elk squealing out.
Save on appliances at the Home Depot.
Bugling in the backyard. He's like, is that an elk I hear?
Off select appliances like Whirlpool that can keep up with your busy routine. The Home Depot has Whirlpool laundry appliances with Fan Fresh. This feature fans and tumbles your laundry after it's done to help keep your clothes fresh until you're ready to grab them. Shop now and get up to $1,000 off plus free delivery on select appliances at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Free delivery on appliance purchases of $999 or more. Offer valid January 8th through the 28th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
This segment is brought to you by TheWilderness.com, makers of quality outdoor and tactical gear. TheWilderness.com.
If you love the outdoors, make sure you sign up for the weekly hunting fishing newsletter to stay up to date with the latest outdoorsman news across the nation. Sign up today at huntingfishing.com. Now back to Don McDowell Outdoors on Fox Sports 910.
James, I want to thank you for being in studio today. It's it's great to talk to you every week, but to spend 2 hours with you is just absolutely awesome. And I know some of our listeners have been sending me text. You need to give James more time.
No, I appreciate it. It's a great honor to be here. Living in Payson's kind of limited to get down here, so I'm glad the timing worked out for us.
Yeah, it's good. Well, you're welcome here anytime. What's your big takeaway for 2026? What do you expect the sensational events are going to be with the department? We've got the Payson Wildlife Fair coming up. We've got the Expo coming up, and so on and so forth.
A very exciting year. It seems like the Expo that goes on at the Game and Fish Department is a wonderful event. If you're listening to me today, circle your calendar for March 28th and 29th. It's out at 5000 Carefree Highway, 5000 West Carefree Highway, right at the Game and Fish headquarters out there. In a 2-day event, Don, they'll get 50,000 people out there.
Oh, of course.
It is a great opportunity for any organization to go advertise what you do. If you're one of the WCOs, a wildlife conservation organization, or an NGO, that's the place to go get a booth and be able to talk to the public. We love seeing those people come in. I always share this story that they have firing ranges. They have wildlife managers sitting there with a .22 rifle, letting kids shoot a .22 rifle that have never shot a firearm before.
Nice.
And I watched this kid stand in line for 20 minutes to get up there to take 5 shots with a .22 with a wildlife manager sitting less than a foot away from him, instructing him, keep it downrange, walk through this thing. We hand him the target. The kid walks out and he tells his mom, I'm not leaving here. I'm going back in this line. He went and stood in line another 20 minutes to get up there and shoot 5 more shots. First time he ever fired a firearm.
Well, the other side of that's indoctrination into dealing with the WM.
Yeah, it is. It
is. And that's a good experience.
Yeah, exactly right. Because way too often, WMs, they have to go do law enforcement.
Absolutely.
They end up being on the, I'm angry with this person, or I got caught doing something that I shouldn't have done. What a great opportunity to see the other side of doing this. Tom Finley, our director, every year when he swears in new wildlife officers that have just gone through all the training. By the way, they go through all the same training that any law enforcement officer in the state gets. But he shares this story that when you engage somebody in the outdoors, hunting, fishing, no matter what it is, they're having the best day of their life. If it's at all possible, when you leave that encounter, they should continue to have the best day of their life.
Yeah.
And I think that's always sound judgment for our wildlife managers. We do wildlife management first. Yes, we do revocations when we have to do those revocations, but that's not the forefront of what our wildlife managers do. They are far more conservationists, biologists, scientists, data collectors than they are enforcement.
They are your ambassador in the field.
They are.
And that can be a good experience like you're talking about, or it can be, depending on your attitude, you can go south real quick.
Yep. Yeah, it can. And they cover, I admire those people. Every one of them, people might not know this, to be a wildlife manager in the state of Arizona, you have to have a 4-year degree in biology, in science, in wildlife, forestry management, something related to the outdoors. You can't have a business degree. You got to have a degree, 4-year college degree, in something related to outdoor or conservation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we got to get this thing wrapped up, get on with the day. February 15th, Matt Shura is going to be in here. I'm going to be traveling back from Salt Lake City at the Western Hunting and Conservation Expo with Jim Lawrence on some MDF business. Anyway, he will be here. The teacher will keep him straight, bless your heart. And we'll just, have a great day. Next week, we've got Jim Lawrence, Bob Jacobs from Mule Foundation in studio. But anyway, thank you so much for coming down. We'll do this again. Like us on Facebook and Instagram. And take your kids fishing, hug your bass boat. And furthermore, eat more beef and wear more cotton. See ya. All righty. That wasn't too bad.